Understanding the applicable insurance coverage and limits in a case is important because sometimes the insurance coverage is the only way to actually recover anything in a case. You can have a case of great liability where a defendant is clearly liable and where there are substantial damages. But if there is nothing to pursue monetarily, then you could have liability and damages and no way to ultimately collect. Knowing what the insurance limit is can give rise to a great tool called the policy limit demand in cases where there are no assets of the defendant. For example, a small company with no assets, but a company that has an insurance policy with hypothetically $1 million limit. Understanding that there is such a limit early on in a case is important because then you can make a policy limit demand early on in litigation, which demands the entire policy amount, in this case $1 million, in exchange for a full and final settlement agreement. A policy limit demand needs to be carefully scrutinized by any defendant's insurance company, and the insurance company is held to a standard of reasonableness. Whether their denial of a policy limits demand is, at the end of the day, reasonable in light of the evidence and in light of the stage of litigation that you are in. It analyzes the exposure of their insured defendant, and it analyzes whether the damages in the case exceed the available limit. If an insurance company rejects a policy limit demand, an insurance company can be held liable for bad faith and can be responsible for an entire judgment, even if that judgment exceeds the policy limit. For example, in a case where there's only $1 million in insurance coverage, if the policy limit demand was made and rejected, and the plaintiff tried the case and received a judgment of $2 million against the defendant, the insurance company could ultimately have to pay for the entire judgment plus other damages, even though the policy was only $1 million. Insurance often permeates every case, or most cases, and is critical to analyze in the early stages of litigation so that our clients know the available insurance and the available limits so that they can make an informed decision as to whether to make a policy limit demand.